There once was a prince who married a twice as lovely princess. He had not yet had time to look upon her, he had not yet had time to speak to her, and he had not yet had time to listen to her. For the prince had to depart on a long journey and leave his young wife in the hands of strangers. The princess wept so much, and the comfort of the prince was not enough. So he advised her not to leave the castle, not to do anything with bad people, and not to listen to evildoers or consort with strange women. All this the princess promised to do. The prince departed, and she shut herself in her room and never went out. Whether it was a short time or a long time mattered not. One day she was sitting by her window, bathed in tears, when a woman passed by in the window. In appearance she was simple and kindly. She put her hand in her hands and said to the princess, "How is this darling little princess? You are forever fretting. Pray now, come out of your turret and have a peep at God's fair world, or come down into your little garden among the sweet things." For a long time the princess refused. She did not even care to listen to this woman's words. But at last she thought, there can be no harm in going to the garden, right? But she did not know that this woman was a witch and had come to ruin her because she envied her bliss. So the princess went with her to the garden and listened to her cunning, wheedling words. In the garden from beneath the mountain trickled a stream of crystalline water. "What do you say now?" said the woman. "The day is very hot and the sun is burning with all its might. But this darling little stream is so cold and refreshing. Why should we not have a bath here?" "Oh, no, I won't," said the princess. But then she thought to herself, why not? There can't be no harm in having a bath. So she slipped off her robe and bounded into the water. And no sooner than she had bathed, the witch struck her on the shoulder and said, "Now swim about as a white duck." But the witch immediately dressed herself in the princess's robes, tied and painted herself, and sat in the place of the princess in the turret to await the prince. And as soon as the little dog began to bark and the bell fell a tink, she rushed out to meet him and threw herself upon his neck and kissed him. The prince was so overjoyed that he was the first to stretch out his arms toward her, but never noticed that it was not his wife, but a witch that stood before him. Meanwhile, the poor duck dwelling in the bright stream laid eggs, hatched its own young. 2 were fair, but the 3rd was stillborn. Her babies grew up into little children, and she brought them up, and they began to walk along the stream and catch goldfish, collect rocks and rags, and run up the banks to look at the meadows. But the mother said, "Oh, don't go there, my children. There dwells the evil witch, and she ruined me, and she'll ruin you too." But the children didn't listen to their mother, and one day they played in the grass, the next the ants, and the next further and further until they finally got into the courtyard. The witch knew them by instinct and ground her teeth for rage, but she made herself so nice, called the little children into the outhouse and gave them good feed, good drink, and made them lie down to sleep, and bade her people to light a fire and sharpen their knives. 2 brothers went to sleep, but the stillborn one who the mother had bade the others carry did not sleep at all. He listened and saw everything. In the night the witch came to the door and asked, "Are you asleep, little children, or not?" Then the stillborn one answered instead of his brothers, "We do not dream in dreams, but think in our thoughts that you want to cut up the whole of us." "They are not asleep," said the witch. She went away from the door and walked about and about, then went to the door again and again. Then the witch asked, "How is it the same voice always replies to me? I'll just have a peep." She opened the door very, very softly, looked in, saw both of the brothers sleeping soundly, then she killed the pair of them. In the morning the white duck began seeking and calling her children, but they did not come. She immediately ran straight towards the prince's courtyard and began calling to her little ones, and cried with a mother's voice, "Kya, my darling lovelies, Kya, my little dovies." And the prince heard the lament and called the witch to him. "Wife, have you heard of this thing? You imagine it," the witch said. They began driving her out, but she flew round and round and called again to her children. The prince felt that there was something wrong, and he cried, "Bring me that white duck hither." They all followed his command. The prince took her carefully by her little wing and said, "White birch tree stand behind me, and fair damsel stand before me. Then the lovely white duck turned into her former shape, the true princess. And then the prince sprinkled living water on her children, and they lived. Then he sprinkled speaking water, and they began to speak. And then all of a sudden the prince saw him surrounded by his family, all alive and well. And they lived together and lived happily, and chose good and avoided evil. But for the witch, by the prince's command, was fastened to the tail of a horse and dragged away over an open steep.